I think it.
Oh,
There
there
we
you go. Good. Okay. All right. We're recording. So welcome. This is the NCAC Executive Board meeting. It's the November 20th, 3:34 p.m. So welcome, everybody. It looks like we have a quorum. We have 4 that I'm seeing here. We're missing Chris and Alex and Michael. Is that correct? Does that sound right to everybody? So we do have a quorum, so we can proceed. Um,
I wonder if they
uh-huh.
think that I wonder if they think it's the evening. I was thinking it was evening until I happened to look at my calendar today. So it was this afternoon.
Yeah. I don't have
I can text
I
Michael.
have access to them to either I don't have any of them on my phone.
I can prompt
But
Alex.
yeah.
I'll
Okay.
do Michael.
And then Chris is probably globetrotting somewhere.
Yeah.
I texted him.
Okay.
I actually like this time better.
Yeah. You text Alex?
Yeah. I
Rand?
just
Okay. Okay. So I think we'll go ahead and go through the conflict of interest question, and hopefully they'll join and just join the meeting if they're able to. But I don't have any conflicts of interest with today's agenda. So Gary, Nancy, and
I have no conflict.
okay.
No
No
conflicts.
conflict.
No conflicts. Okay, great.
Alex says he thought it was at 7 and
Oh,
he can join in a moment.
okay, good. Okay. Maybe we'll
So in this pause, I'll let you know
yeah.
I have to go to the dentist at 5. So if we
Okay.
get close to 5, I'm gonna be bailing.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to be wrapped up by 5, actually.
Yeah, we should. That would be good.
Well, you've already been in a meeting, Rand,
Right,
for
I just jumped from one to the other
Yeah,
today. So
yeah.
I had to come to Tillamook today
Yeah.
to be at the library so I could
Oh.
pay my dentist when the meetings were done.
Oh, okay.
But it's great. They have these little private reading rooms
Yeah,
and it's really
nice,
nice, free and
nice.
a good option.
Okay, well, has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda for today?
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, well,
Well, we might have to
yeah,
take care of Marina Lucia and get her
yeah,
parked somewhere else before he
yeah,
jump on
yeah,
the call, so.
yeah. Well, let's just in the interest of time, let's go ahead and get going here. Let me pull up the agenda here. So October 23rd meeting minutes and approval. Are there any changes or additions or changes to
Haven't
them?
been able to read them yet.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
Yeah, my fault. Sorry about that. I didn't post it in the right folder or get a link to it set up in the agenda for today. So going forward, I'll have that.
Okay.
I can put it back up and share it if we want to take a look at it.
Okay.
Or if you just could email me, I could look at it. We could go back to it later, and I'm sure it's fine. But
Yeah.
were
Okay.
you able to see it before, Rand? The minutes? Okay.
So maybe we'll come back to that while Gary's working on that. Will that take you a minute, Gary? Oh, here it is.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So under bylaws, you did by the team, do you mean the executive board?
Where you,
Under bylaws, the last line of bylaws subcommittee check-in.
The
This-
team agreed to include the,
uh,
in the,
I think we meant that got the executive board, but I can't remember for sure.
okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
okay, there we go.
That looks good.
Late all. I thought we were on at 7. Hello,
Oh,
everyone.
that's right, Alex.
Oh,
Oh,
hi, Alex.
conflict of interest real quick, Alex?
I have no conflict.
Okay, great, thanks. We're just reviewing the minutes, Alex, from the October meeting, so.
Great.
I'm ready if you want to scroll. I don't know about everybody else though. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I have no other comments.
Yeah, no. I'm good with it.
okay, me too.
Looks good.
Okay, so no changes to the minutes, so we'll approve the minutes from the October 23rd.
Other than the clarification that
Other
it was
than the-
executive
yeah.
board.
Executive board, right?
Approve.
Okay. I think that gets us to, let me get so bylaws subcommittee, a check-in, Nancy.
Okay,
go
so I kind of have three main things. One is so we've been working on policies and procedures. We decided to add resources as another topic area. So policies, procedures, and resources. An example of a resource would be the map, the NCAC boundary map, and possibly the map that's come out of the community plan committee that shows the neighborhoods. Some other things that are just that aren't really a policy or a procedure. And at our last meeting, we were talking about job descriptions and should they be in the policies and procedures or should they be under a separate category called job descriptions? So we're kind of doing still some organizational discussions since this is a brand new document. So I don't know, it's sounding like peanut butter sandwich to me, but PP, J, and M or R, whatever. So we'll see, but it's moving along. We're doing some writing now, and it's moving along. We're not ready yet for feedback sessions or anything like that. Probably around the first of the year. We have one more meeting scheduled before the end of the year, and that's on December 6th. And we're taking the rest of the year off, which is basically one meeting right before Christmas that we're canceling. So the outreach task force is something that, Susan was appointed by the board to that position, to a position on the outreach task force, but I don't believe anybody else has been found for it. So she was kind of assigned along with Michael to draft something for the policies and procedures for the outreach task force and has kind of a neat proposal that I can send along. But one of her suggestions is that we use that community plans neighborhoods area plus areas that are outside of the community plan boundary to get a representative from each of those areas to be part of the outreach task force because they're going to know their neighborhood. It would be kind of a simple job, but they could actually be working in their neighborhood on communicating information about the NCAC to those people and also to be looking for people to become officers or committee members. So they're kind of two main areas of the outreach task force. One is that we folded in when we redid the bylaws, we folded in the old nominating committee into the outreach task force, except that they don't do vetting. They just look for people to sign up and just verify that they're a member and eligible, and that's it. So they need to get working, because the nominations kind of need to happen, if possible, by our February membership meeting, because the elections for officers have changed to April from June. And elections for committee members are still, I believe, in June. But anyway, for officers, it's April. So I'm wondering if we should, since she's right now the only member, task force chairs are supposed to be part of the executive board as well. So I wonder if we should temporarily have Mark, have you appoint Susan to the executive board until they get more members, and then they will select a chair. Because I
Yeah,
don't think she actually wants to be chair, but
yeah.
that she would be able to bring progress and that kind of thing to the executive board.
Yeah, that'd be fine. I don't have any problem with doing that. It would be just her until, like you said, they had 2 or 3 other people and they select somebody, and then that person would replace them. So
Mhm.
she would be the rep until that time. And we would include her on the agenda, I assume.
Right.
The outreach, and put a bullet in there for her. I don't know what other people think about that. I'm fine with that.
Well, I don't have any specific thoughts about the committee but I was at an event. It's actually a duck ball game,
Yeah.
and a conversation came up about a few neighbors, and they had no idea what the NCAC was. Um, and I wondered if wouldn't make sense to revisit the mailing a postcard to every property owner in our watershed, in our big community, and encourage people to be engaged with it, because there's a community plan going on. There's all these different things going on, kind of a cheering on the NCAC. And last time we offered an image from Michael Schlichting as if you give us your email, we will put you in the raffle to win the Witchamadigi, whatever it is that we want to encourage him with. And we got over 700 responses. So people have come and gone, and there's new people here, and it seems like a pretty thorough and reasonably cost-effective way to reach all those people. And that might be something that at least Susan could start working on, or last time the county, the indebted county, paid for all the postage. And so, and they mailed it. We just said, yes, here's the message, and they put it on and sent it out. So anyway, that would be kind of a way to rev up the motors of the community about the NCAC, and that outreach might be pretty effective. So that's,
Mhm.
since it's just recently came up, and I've been trying to remember it today. I'm glad I was here today and the subject came up.
Yeah, I can actually, if you'd like, I could share really quickly what she and Michael have come up with that the committee liked, our bylaws committee liked as a good draft to go with. So if, I could share that if you're interested. Because yes, I think they've got some great ideas, like you had, Ran, about how to get people engaged. And that's kind of the other part. One is the nominating process, but the other is getting awareness of the NCAC out there, because and not just that it exists, but what our activities are. So she's got lots of great ideas, and I think is just looking for some help. But would you like me to share that, or do we not have time for that?
Yeah, we have to.
It's like one page. Can you see it okay?
Yeah.
So it's very basic here, but so basically to create awareness through growing the membership by designating an individual or individuals in each neighborhood recognized by the NCAC community plan, and have that person or persons identify opportunities within their neighborhood for membership awareness. And then she lists the areas of Nescoin that could be used. Permanently display NCAC meeting notices. We had some discussion about where we could have community boards, like maybe 3 main areas, possibly set something over where the post office used to be, of having being able to see if the county could put up a bulletin board, because that's county property where, and it sounds like it's kind of centrally located. I know we've talked about possibly in the store. I've talked with Alexis about possibly being able to put something permanent, not like Jeff used to have to do of actually posting for each meeting, but just having something saying this is what the NCAC is, here's how you contact, here's the website for information, and our meetings tend to be blah. And these are some activities. And then having, I think you're already putting some notices in the NCA newsletter and that kind of thing, but and then public posts and announcements for the election. She had some ideas about possibly special guest speaker programs advertised in Oregon Coast Today in their calendar section. And then actually having some programs at meetings, at membership meetings, like Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, things of local interest. And in the meeting, we have a couple of members. Wyatt is part of the volunteer fire district, and he said they desperately need people for that. They all tend to be older. They're not, and they just desperately need more people. And so maybe having a program where there's a speaker for 10 or 15 minutes at a membership meeting. And Tom Sipe is part of the CERT training, and he said they also are looking for people. So, so this would be some ideas. So obviously this would be fleshed out a little bit, but it's kind of to start with, and possibly having, like you said, Rand, having a mailer about things out to people. But
Well,
I know if she can get some more people involved, that they could
right.
actually go out and do this.
You could grab the informational town hall as the things that we had done before,
Right.
and have meetings that were informational and not just, okay, we're gonna grind over the same stuff again. This is specific topic you might be interested in. So yeah.
That's true, like the FEMA one, and I know that's how I got involved, was getting a letter from the county, a physical mailed letter about all the informational meetings they did, 2020, 2021, about the tsunami zones and all that kind of stuff. That,
Mhm.
well, wow, that looks interesting.
All right.
So anyway,
It
so
worked.
if if it would be okay, you guys can take a vote or whatever to invite Susan to attend. It might be able to, give her some feedback on how to, and also if you know of anybody in your neighborhoods or just in general who you think might like to join this effort, there's a lot to be done where we could get people more involved.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So we do have the document as it's done. Tom Sipes, our editor, and like yours, Rand, and we do have the latest document available anytime you want to look at it. And what we probably should look at, Gary, is sticking some kind of a web page up for the Bylaws Subcommittee to put the latest document periodically for people to look at. So maybe you and I could talk with your webmaster about how to
Okay, yeah,
set something up like that. I know
we
we thought
have
about it last year and never did it, but
right, and we have one specific for the community plan, which actually needs to be updated because it has a timeline in there which is totally off now too. So at some point, Rand, I wanted to talk with you about just kind of going over that page and seeing what needs to be updated and changed, and maybe finally giving our web people something to work on for a change, because I haven't had anything specific to give them yet.
And we need to get something to you too. So
Mhm.
it's a follow-up thing, maybe after the holidays.
Mhm.
My second item is e-bulletin boards and email blasts. So Wyatt sent something after our last meeting that their that the NCA, I guess it's the NCA has organized a 1 hour down and dirty CPR class to train to train people on Saturday, December 7th at 2:30 at the Nesquin Fire Station. And he has a little blurb for that he'd like to see if the NCAC can promote. So possibly put it on the website, setting up like an e-bulletin board kind of a thing, and maybe including some things in our email blast that maybe is a category at the bottom, like items of interest. And we, as the Bylaws Subcommittee, would be looking at policies around that. Like there should be some policies on how do you decide that something's appropriate or not appropriate. So to do that. So something like a CPR class would obviously, I would think, would pass the vetting process. It's in line with our mission. It would help people, but it's not asking for money or anything. It's just an easy thing that we should probably have. I would guess it would be part of your communications task force, Gary or Mark or somebody to say, yes, this would be appropriate. And he has another one. The fire district is looking for a grant writer to meet a December 20th deadline for a FEMA grant that could substantially accelerate achievement of its 5-year strategic plan. And so if anyone knows somebody who could help write a grant for that, their fire district is looking for that. So would that something like that be appropriate to put in a newsletter blast? Not a special one because we only have, I think, a limit of 5, but when we're sending one out anyway, include something like that. So so we're thinking a process could be, that's what we're about, is the process part of it, would be to have people send in a request to say Gary or include Mark. So we're looking for input from you guys on how you'd like to, is it appropriate, first of all, to have a community bulletin board like that or in emails, but how would you like to see us do that in a practical level? And we don't have to decide obviously today. It's just something to think about. We can send out a draft policy, but for these 2 items, would that be something that we could get approval on today to just get those sent out whenever we have the next email blast? And for sticking it on the bulletin board, we don't really, I think, have like a community bulletin board thing right now on the website. Would that be something we could look at doing, like have a tab at the top, community news or something like, I don't know what we'd call it, something like that.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of a community bulletin board or community news. And I don't know, Gary, how many can we send out? Is it 5?
It's 5, yeah.
It's 5, okay. And it goes to every person when we send it.
Everyone who's on the
Everyone who
clear
signed up, his email.
signed up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, just my experience with this has been that if you have a bulletin board, just like I'll just use Alexis as an example at the store there. She's got that big glassed in sort of bulletin board and I don't know how easy it is to get things in there, but when I think about for us, ours could be a tab with a community bulletin board, and literally it's these kinds of things that go there, and somebody can go and check the tab and see what's going on in the community. I guess that would be my preference. And that's sort of it's other than maybe Gary having to actually maybe receive it and post it there. Other than that, it's pretty passive. It's somebody sends something in, it's a CPR class, or it's a first aid class, or it's a grant writer, and it, and it goes to the bulletin board. It's as long as I think when in education, we have policy in terms of what can be on a school bulletin board, and I didn't look that up before the meeting today, but it is generally it can't be anything that's related to fundraising or money. It's got to be these kinds of things. Free courses, free opportunities, those kinds of things. And we could certainly look up some sort of guidelines for, for how it would get posted to a community bulletin board. That's really user friendly. You just check the boxes on it and yes, okay, it's fine. It goes on the community bulletin board. Because these are the kinds of things you don't want to have to take a lot of time with. They come in at different times of the month and, they might be before a meeting that we have. We only have a meeting once a month, and how do you get them approved? And, they could send them to me or they could send them to Gary and either one of us could approve it. And there you go. So that's my thinking on it. I don't know if other folks have comments on that.
I have a thought. So,
Yeah.
I mean, all of these things that were brought up are obviously good things for the community.
Yeah.
How much overlap with, when I look at the NCAC and I look at the NCA, a number of these items seem more appropriate for the NCA.
Okay.
Maybe Rand can talk to this. We're a land use or a, citizens advisory committee to the county, and functioning, this would make us function a little more like a community association. But we seem to be a lot more active than the NCA in terms of monthly meetings and everything. So, I know, Rand, you're on the NCA. This does seem more like an NCA thing, but is this something that we should take on since we're a little more active than the NCA?
And the NCA seems to operate mostly in the summer.
Yeah.
When they're here, then I
Yeah.
think I'm the only member that's here
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
time. They don't have a very functional website. Jeff Lindman has set up the website and operates it, but he says he's not a content manager. And so it's just, if you get stuff in there, you don't know where you're going to find it or if it's even there without a thorough search. So I would term it a somewhat dysfunctional website. But I do think that the function of the NCA matches with a lot of the suggested postings, as you just pointed out. So it may be that so little sidebar here, the NCA is looking at becoming a 501c3 and altering its mission because it sees greater potential for it to raise money and spend it on community services and infrastructure, like the paving project that kind of got them going, like, we could do more with the money that we raise besides $1,500 grants. So they're kind of in a process of reviewing their mission and how they would function, and being a year-round, having a bulletin board, doing some of these things that you're talking about so the people knew where to go for those things and where to go for land use issues, and becoming a distinction between the two functions might be a really good idea. They don't have a communications committee with expertise, but that doesn't mean that's not possible. So I think that this is helpful to me to see another area that would enrich the conversation, talking about a 501c3 to be a year-round community building organization. It would then fit them better, since they seem to be a summer only kind of we have functionality, but it's pretty light from pretty much October through March. There's not much going on and there's not much visibility, and it's a dysfunctional website. So There's some work to be done, but I think that that would be part of their enriched mission. So I think this is pretty timely. And there could be, again, some coordination between the people who operate parts of both organizations. Unless that became cumbersome or unwieldy. For me, it works really well to have my foot in this door and that door to see where money can help and things like that. So other people could play that role, especially if they had digital skills that I don't have for websites and such. And it might broaden the mission of the communications task force because they would see more things to do that reach more people more often.
And it might not even hurt to do both. I think you have a really good point, Alex, that in some ways this is bleeding over from, and I guess the two organizations were one organization a long time ago and then were split out because one is county, and sounds like a big great idea for the NCA to become a 501c3 because we can't, but being a county organization, but that would be terrific. But in this case, why it's asking is to promote an NCA activity. So apparently this 1 hour, it's not a full CPR class, he says. It's not a certification, it's a 1 hour class at the fire station. But it would be something where there'd be a chance of reaching different people in each organizations. I don't know.
Yeah, so I look, Alex, it's a good question. And I go back to the bylaws. Object 2 has, what the NCAC is about really. And, it's pretty specific in terms of making recommendations to governmental bodies, except for the last sentence in the object, which says to pursue other matters as deemed relevant by the membership. And
Public safety was an element.
well, make recommendations to applicable government bodies on land use, environmental, public safety, and public health. So
Right.
it sounds like making recommendations about those things to governmental bodies. But then it says take actions as needed to suggest community plan and county code amendments. But under that, it has pursue other matters as deemed relevant by the membership. And to me, that sort of opens the door a little bit to this sort of thing, right? And I don't think that we would want to make that decision for the membership, but I do think it would be a conversation in membership meeting about, this sort of need, and just what, Rand talked about and Alex, mentioned, the NCA operates from March to October, really ran and is pretty silent the rest of the year, but we have regular meetings and we send emails and we post things to our website. And so just out of the fact that that's what we do, we are more active. And I think getting okay from the membership to, I actually think some kind of a proposal to the membership about what we might post would be the best thing to do. These kinds of, training or a CPR class or these two things that I think Wyatt has said to me are really good things for the strengthen the community in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
So I think I'm in agreement with this, but I think there's a little bit of work to do to present it to the membership in terms of, is this something that, because they're going to be, well, maybe they're not going to, they might not get it on an email blast. It might go to a bulletin board, but it's really the membership's decision about this, about what sort of things we grow in terms of being involved in.
Yeah, we need to be able to provide them a vetting process about, okay, this is how we're, taking a look at all these requests that could come in about
Right.
wanting to use the facility. So
I totally agree with you, Gary. My experience is that once how do I say this? We've been becoming more and more visible in a number of different ways. And once you are, people will come to you and
Well,
they want you
Yeah.
to do things.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're in your community and they'll just want you to do things. You know, can we put this on the website? Can we put that on the website? Can we ask for this? Can we ask for that? That will come. And you have to have some guardrails about what is a yes and what is a no.
Sure.
And we're not at that point yet.
So we are planning, that is the things that we're working on in the policies and procedures document. And of course, we're involving like Gary for anything related to communications and Mark and really all of you. So you'll have a chance to look at everything before we even bring it to the membership. But in terms of this, this is kind of a quickie thing, and maybe we don't set a precedent by including this on an email blast. But anyway, I'm putting forth Wyatt's request that we send something out when we send our next email blast, because I don't think people typically just go to the website to look at things right now. So if you don't feel comfortable doing it because we don't have policies around it, I'll just let Wyatt know that. But is the NCA promoting this? Do you know, Rand?
I haven't seen anything. We don't have a newsletter at this
Yeah.
point, and that we do have a mailing list, and that could go out, and it's more in the 2 to 400
Mhm.
range. So
I think we're around 750 or 800, aren't we?
yeah,
I think, yeah.
right. It'd be interesting to understand how the two could make the best use of the shared resources and have policy that
Yeah.
Mhm.
helps manage that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm mulling over whether to make a motion on it or not, because my typical reaction is to not do something without a policy. So on the other
Right.
hand, I can see a lot of value where people might want to know about this class that's coming up on December 7th, which is before the membership meeting. So I'm struggling here. So if so we can move on. You guys can think about it if you feel like it's worth
I would
promoting this.
I would be happy to send that out. I just brought this up because
Oh,
as you mentioned, you know, once you start,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't know how much of our time as a board, how much, you know, Gary and Mark, you want to be fielding all of these things.
yeah.
'Cause, you know, again, once you start, then you become the go-to place. And, you know, it's a CPR class, but then it's also like a pie, you know, cooking class. And
Right.
Or yoga on the beach, or
yeah, you
Right.
know,
right.
Yeah.
or
So, you know,
yoga
all the
on the
signs you see in
pond.
town, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So,
Good point.
you know, I always, I always try and think larger rather than just the one that's right in front of you. You know, what's it going to mean? And
Yeah.
and you know, these are all good. I mean, I mean, all of these are good things, but it's just, you know, I'm also sort of generally, I'm reluctant to sort of knee jerk.
Yeah.
I'm generally reluctant to do that. It's like, okay, I understand that, but me personally, in my past life, I would say, well, no, we're not going to do that at this point. We may down the road, but that's generally would be my response.
Yeah. Well, that would be my response generally
Yeah.
too. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
struggling. So so why don't we just let that go? If you know of anybody, I mean, you guys that all are around there, let people know. I'll forward this note to all of you about the CPR class, and perhaps you could let people know that might be interested. It's a 1 hour class. He says it's normally to get certified, it's a 4 hour class. So this is just kind of a down and dirty one. But this grant writer, if you know of anyone who might be good they need a grant writer for the fire
Mhm.
district to
Mm.
meet a December 20th deadline for a FEMA grant that could
Yeah.
make a big difference for them. That
Or
would be helpful.
and I'm also in the fire department. We had a long meeting about this on Monday night,
Oh, okay.
and also a grant reviewer. There's a lot of through fire departments across the country. There's a lot of template grants because these are pretty
Oh.
standard
Oh.
Department of Homeland Security and FEMA grants that have been awarded through, you know, hundreds of departments. So a grant writer or a grant or someone who would even do a lighter job like a grant reviewer
Mhm.
Hmm.
is what the department would be looking for.
Okay.
Do you
So-
know, does anyone know if that bulletin board that is at the store there, is that, I don't know, is that, can people?
That's
post?
Alexis.
Yeah,
That's Alexis.
can,
I think she decides what goes in there.
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, that's my understanding when I talked with her about it. That was last year when we were still developing the bylaws,
Okay,
and she wasn't clear on whether she would want to post anything for the NCAC at this point, but I kind of
Oh,
got the
okay.
impression she probably would.
Oh,
It's
okay.
so it would, I think it would involve somebody going in and talking with her or
I
Uh-huh.
talked
about
to
it.
her. I talk to her quite regularly. 'Cause
Okay,
I'm on the board of the farmers market, and we
Yeah.
use her space that she owns across 101. So I have a email out to her. Currently, I'd be happy to ask her
great.
what the status is of that kind of, you know, box posting and see what she thinks about.
That'd
And
be
I
great.
was thinking at this point, Alex, if she was okay with it, just the sort of I don't know, the fire department could put something in there that says we're offering a CPR class or we're looking for a grant. It's not the
Yeah.
NC, but it's just a
Mhm.
a poster that says that. I mean,
Yeah, I think
but-
that would be a great place for, you know, an alternate place instead of
Mhm.
emailing us and having it go through us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
I
know,
think that would be great.
but you would-
Plus,
you could look-
for anyone who's there, I mean, the beauty, of course, of our website and the email list is you might get a grant writer who lives somewhere else that
Yeah.
would be happy to help.
Yeah.
But yes, it would be great. And if she'd be willing to post something that, you know, just promotes the NCAC in general, some kind of
Yeah, I'll
a
talk
thing
to
about it,
Alex
a general thing.
this.
Yeah, that would be great. If you already have a relationship with her, that would be great. The last thing I have, and it'll be very brief, is that I think our meeting, our urgent membership meeting really showed some issues around voting and how we set up motions and that kind of thing. So we're working on trying to figure out so our bylaws say that whenever we make a recommendation to the county or to some other group, we need to have a record of the vote and how many for, how many against. And we're now adding the words if feasible in the policies and procedures. But you know, when people sign up, I did a little research because originally we tried to put some numbers in. It was a unanimous vote to recommend sending a letter to the county and having Mark present at the county, but it was we're trying to get numbers in there, and we had 92 people registered. We had 70. I know at some point I saw 78 participants on the site. When almost everybody had their cameras off. So some people, I think, when I was looking at names and everything, there were two people probably there, but we didn't know there were two people there. So when there was a vote, it looked like one person. And how do we figure out whether these people are members? You know, it almost seems like as we write a poll, we probably need to say, I'm a member with these by virtue of owner, you know, I own property or I live there or I own a business there, you know, the three different categories.
Mhm.
But I wonder if we need to add something saying, if there's more than one of you sitting there, turn on your camera and the second person speaks. I mean, how do we? So we're struggling with how to get an accurate vote. When it's unanimous, it's not quite as important. We just took the number out. But if it's something where it's tighter vote, how do we accurately record that? And so we're wondering if there might be a different system for recording votes than the Zoom account because it's fairly limited. And I can't remember who it was. Oh, Michael Beachley said that in their OSU Faculty Senate, they actually use a voting system because they have people coming into their meetings from all over the state. And he was going to research to see if there's something that doesn't cost very much, but that might be a little more sophisticated in being able to capture that kind of thing. So, but it was illuminative, I guess, in how what we didn't know, and so that was helpful.
It would be nice, I think, if, and I don't know if they can do this, maybe Michael's does it, but if you're gonna vote, you check a box
Mhm.
before you vote of which, you could just say, I'm one of these three, and there's just a box there, and if it's
Right.
checked, you're verifying somehow that you are a member.
Exactly,
Wasn't
because
And then you vote,
right,
that would be.
exactly.
discussion on this topic, gosh, several months ago, I think before I was on the board, about how or whether it was possible to verify voting people if they were actually eligible or not. And I thought the discussion eventually led to the fact is we really don't have a way to do that good. It really is the honor system.
Correct. So what we really struggled with it, and it was decided it was too hard to actually check. And Wyatt, who was a criminal, well, he was an attorney for the for the Justice Department, and he's quite eloquent about the honor system working and how people do tend to follow the honor system. But by having something simple saying, I am a member through one or more of these three categories, and they check a box, that is the honor system. It's not like we're vetting to see if they're really truly a member, but at least for most people, they're not going to sit there and vote if they're not. They're not going to check a box if they're not. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Gary. We in the bylaws we don't vet. But we should have something just saying we're a member through blah blah blah.
Yeah, and the other concern is for a third-party application that we're looking at as a polling application. We'll have to find some way that it ties in with the Zoom meetings, because people are going to join the meeting and then they're going to want to know, well, gosh,
Right.
now you're making me go to this other application. I got to sign
Right.
into some other
Right.
web app somewhere to do voting. And why can't I just do it from the meeting like we've always done it? And so
Right.
I'm a little worried about people seeing a change and wondering, oh, what's going on with this?
Yeah.
Well, absolutely, Gary, and obviously we are not. It's not in our purview to go out and select a system. That's in yours, absolutely. So, but we were trying to brainstorm in the meeting what could be done, and Michael's familiar with this other one, so we would just send that your way, and you guys could figure out whether it's feasible or not to use something else. In the meantime, though, from a procedural thing, and maybe you and your team could put your thinking hats on how do we handle it when there can be multiple people at a computer, and they might have registered. They might have both registered to be on there, but only one is showing up because we're not making people turn on their cameras. So like Wyatt was sitting there with the camera off and his wife was there.
I mean, and that's very similar to say if people are not logging in directly through I mean, if they're calling in by phone and voting by phone,
Right.
we've had in the past as well. So
Exactly.
the only way we had to get around that was it had to be manually done. So it had the secretary had to sit there and listen to people calling in on the phone saying, okay, well, I'm voting this way, yes or no.
And then with I think we will put in the policies or the procedures that every question should be a separate question, not put two or more things in the same vote, because that kind of caught us when we changed through the discussion, we changed the wording and we couldn't get to the second question. So, and that's really hard for you sitting there on the fly trying to change something.
Well, and the Zoom lacks the flexibility to be able to do some of that stuff as well.
Right. It does. Okay, so that's all I had, and I'm sorry for taking so much time, but I'm done.
I will make up for it with brevity.
Okay.
And sorry to interrupt, Brent. I'm just letting you know, I have to transition to my phone, because I have to start moving. So I'll still be here. You'll just see me join on a second thing and then leave my computer. Just letting you know.
Okay.
Okay. So we just finished a community plan meeting. This was our meeting to review ordinance questions we have for Sarah and go through those and fine tune those as much as possible. So that when we meet with her on December 2nd, she can magically answer all our questions. And that may just be, no, none of those are gonna fly at the county. Or those are aspirational, you're welcome to put them in as an aspiration of your community, but they will not turn into ordinances that are applied. And in some mix of that might be possible. So that was the work we did today, and then December 2nd, we will meet with Sarah, go over those, and Tom see and updated the document, and we made a couple more decisions about what things would go in the appendix and which would stay in the main document. But those were made, so we're on version 7 at this point of the community plan. And that's kind of the update, unless you want to know some of the ordinance details, which I kind of doubt that that's worth going into at this meeting. So we'll see what happens December 2nd. That's it's where the rubber is gonna hit the road, I think. So that's where we are in our work.
Okay. Thanks, Rand. Any questions or comments for Rand or? Yeah, I know it's ongoing.
It is.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna get some feedback directly, and so that's been a long time coming, and I'm excited
Yeah,
that we will have questions and she can answer them, we can move forward.
yeah, yeah.
Looks like you have a little person over there.
Yeah, my granddaughter is here, so. Okay, let's move on. I know Rand's got to leave here in another 30 minutes or so. So review of NCA grant proposal for recommendation of membership at December 14th meeting. I think I know I've looked at that, Rand. I didn't look at it today, but I've looked at it. And I guess, Rand, just a question I have is just to be blunt, how come the NCA doesn't buy it and we don't borrow it from them? And they keep it and we borrow it? Is it because we'll use it more, do you think, or why?
Well, they didn't think of it. And I thought it was a helpful tool to the
Yeah,
NCAC without having the county be involved.
yeah,
And we could do it that way. I mean, they're gonna buy
Yeah.
it anyway.
yeah. Okay,
I'll write that down, and obviously I want to talk. We've got the wording now from Dave Bennett, who worked up the 501c3 wording. So the board will probably have a meeting off season, you might say.
oh, okay,
And so I will just ask them outright, because the NCAC is such a strange county entity, that
Yeah.
it's uncomfortable to have tools that then need to be borrowed and everything. And could the NCA just handle it, and the NCAC would borrow it from them rather than the reverse? So that's a pretty easy reverse mechanism that I
Yeah.
kind of see where it's probably gonna end up in my closet. But it might be Gary's closet, who knows? I don't know. But it'll be part of the discussion of the
Yeah,
communication task force, and what makes sense to share between the two
yeah,
organizations. And
Yeah. yeah,
okay,
yeah,
Yeah, that might be a good solution, because I think when we were doing the draft, Sarah was CC'd, and I think one of the questions was, could we even get it? Are we allowed to hold? Is the NCC allowed to hold equipment? And what happens if it's lost or whatever? And she wrote back saying, well, that's an interesting question. I'm going to check with the attorney. So,
uh-huh.
yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Okay,
Whereas the NCA could just do it.
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. Okay. Let me look here where we're at. So we won't recommend that at the December 14th meeting then, Rand. We'll hold off on that.
Okay,
And then,
I might have word by then anyway.
I'm
And
sorry.
just- I might know by then and be able to
Oh, okay.
report to
Okay.
you so that at the
Okay.
meeting you can say, in the future, we will have access to
Got it. Got it.
that the NCA owns and will make available to us if the county
Yeah.
is unable to provide the equipment for a hybrid meeting.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
now that we know that the NCAC or NCA has money and takes grants, I think that was actually one of the thoughts if we did a bulletin board for the outreach task force, that maybe they could pay for putting a structure up in that area near the post office or something.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Sounds like if it's going to be at the store, that would be even better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those
that's a
community
limited.
oh, go ahead.
Well, we used to put all the notices and everything on telephone poles in the village, because that's where people walk and that's where they see it. Not everyone goes to the store. And we had it at the golf course, but they wanted to promote golf course stuff, so it'd always be someplace in the window where if
No,
you look for it, you can find it, but no one was seeing much of it.
Yeah.
So it's been a bit of a struggle always to find public places where people see things that reaches more than 5 to 10 people. So
Yeah.
it's the websites and the emails are a much more effective way to prompt people and give
Yeah.
them the tools to get to the hybrid or Zoom meeting. It's been an incredible growth in the amount of participation. So everything has improved significantly, and it's interesting that proposals to go back to the paper places,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I get it, and I think that
Hmm.
that's another avenue, and it reaches people that otherwise might not ever see it. So I I support it. It's just somewhat ironic in my mind.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, the next to last item here is, so planning for submission, or it really maybe planning sort of, or question about submitting a letter regarding the impending FEMA decision to the Tillamook County Board of Commissioners at the November 27th 9 a.m. meeting. I don't know, I think, I don't know who attended the meeting the other day. It was on Thursday night, I guess. I know Nancy was there and I was there. Maybe some others of you were present also. But we submitted a letter, a bunch of folks, other CACs did as well, and as well as individuals in Tillamook County spoke at the meeting. And I don't know, I sort of got the impression that the from the feedback that evening, not from us, but from other folks that were at the meeting, that folks would rather decline to choose any of the options, is what I thought I heard at the meeting. I don't know, did other people, I know Nancy, you were there, but maybe Ran or Alex or Gary.
The feedback I got was Trump's going to save us and the FEMA
Oh.
won't exist.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't attend, but I did get kind of a feedback from some people I know that did go, and yeah, it sounded kind of like it was sort of the attitude of go ahead and sue us, or we'll
Yeah.
sue you, or something like
Yeah.
to that effect. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think the official feedback, because yeah, a lot of the public comment was understandably emotional with people who really just wanted to kind of ignore things.
Mhm.
But I was really impressed with the county people. It was a combination meeting with the board of county commissioners and the planning commission, and they were much nicer than I was about letting people talk for a long time. But the it seemed like they were going toward a consensus, and they're going to be having another meeting on November 27th where they'll actually make a decision, but to send FEMA back a letter saying, we're not picking any of these things, and then follow up with a lawsuit that would be part of they'd be in conjunction with other entities in Oregon that would be suing, and it would be largely funded through donations and other grants. And that would, at the very least, take some time to go through the process. But the attorney that attended, Molly, somebody who's been working very closely, it sounds like, with Sarah, was saying that she feels like the legal premise FEMA's using is wrong. They're not using the right law, and she got pretty technical about it. It's an interesting video. If you go in, I suggest you look at the first hour to hour and a half, and then the meeting went 3 hours. Look at the first hour to hour and a half, and then skip over after Mark, because Mark did a great job. And he was toward the beginning of the public comment, but then skip to the end where they're talking about what to do. It sounds like they feel like they have a really good legal premise for fighting back on what FEMA's doing and declaring FEMA unreasonable. So, and at the very least, they'd have a year where FEMA couldn't actually do anything that they're threatening to do, like withhold flood insurance and that kind of thing, or come in if there's an emergency. And so they're really picking an option. I don't know if it's 4 or 5 at this point, but not picking any of the first 3 options that FEMA's giving. And they gave Sarah the authority to go with Molly to go talk options with other entities in Oregon, and report back for November 7th. So yeah, anyway, that was kind of what I got out of it. Is that kind of what you got, Mark?
Yep.
That was a very good summary. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting outcome, and
Yeah.
luckily we had no letter about that we supported legal action. So
Yeah. So that
I
I think initially we thought we might want to write another letter to be read at the next meeting, which is about, well, it's a week away from today. But I don't know that we need to do that. I think we put in our letter already sort of what we felt, and so I'm not sure we need to do another letter. And then Sarah forwarded that we could write to legislators, politicians in Oregon. And I guess maybe that's the other question, whether we want to do something like that. And personally, I don't think it's as pressing as needing to do it by next Wednesday now, because the county's going to make whatever decision they're going to make. And sounds kind of like they're not going to choose any of those. So it's going to be kind of, then I don't know how long that's going to take to sort out. And I know, Nancy, you sent was it an email? I think an email to Sarah today, because you CC'd me about some questions about whether we should send some to the legislators and whether they should be personal or whether they should be from the NCAC or, and she didn't get back to you.
No, and I'm sorry, I said it
Mm.
way too late. I'd also texted her with it, but I haven't heard back. But I guess what I'm wondering is if we could authorize Mark to represent us going forward without the need for another urgent meeting, depending on what Sarah says, because the second vote really was the membership that authorized us to go ahead and send things out to legislators as we felt comfortable doing. So if the board could authorize, I guess, Mark to move on with that, depending on what Sarah says, on when it would be helpful to send something to legislators, kind of with the same things that were in the letter, I guess, that we support. That it's just not, we can't do it. We can't follow these FEMA requirements right now. It would cause the environmental issues that the environmentalists who brought suit are concerned about, it would actually reverse, I think,
Yeah,
the
detriment.
impact. It would be detrimental, and that we support their plan to go forward with the lawsuit, but to ask the legislators for their help in working with FEMA to back off, basically. If we could authorize Mark to go forward with something like that, if Sarah comes back and says, this is the date, it would be helpful to send this out. And be more helpful to come from the NCAC directly. And then, yes, it would be helpful to put model letters on the website for people if they want to do an individual kind of thing. Uh, she certainly has said it would be very helpful to have these letters going out to legislators. We just don't really understand what the time frame would be.
Yeah.
Because I think I was a little surprised that they had actually, I'm sure it's all the work that Sarah had done ahead of time. I was kind of surprised in the meeting last Thursday about that they had authorized her, that they were already really ready to go for it. And I think that was a really good outcome based on what we were hearing. So
So
Go
are
ahead,
you
Mike.
making a motion, Nancy, then for the board to go ahead and authorize Mark for that or not?
that sounds good. Sure. I move that that the executive board authorize Mark with any input he would like from board members to send letters to legislators regarding that are similar in nature to the letter we sent to the county.
I second.
Okay.
Okay, so
Sounds good to me.
no discussion, how about a vote then?
Aye.
Okay, okay,
I'm
there we
a
go.
yes vote.
Alex is a yes, so it's unanimous, so. Okay, so we'll see what Sarah says in terms of, and I'll definitely have an update by the December, I think it's December 14th. For our membership meeting, I'll have an update that day about where this is all landed and timelines and things.
Right. And I wonder if she might even be interested in coming to the meeting and talking too, possibly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah.
Live update.
Okay, anything, I think that's that and a public comment, but I don't see any public here.
Well, I guess I do
Okay.
have a addition to the agenda. I
Okay.
think we have to plan the agenda for the membership meeting.
I was going to say, do we
Yeah, okay.
confirm meeting dates for the rest of the year? We had the next executive board meeting was actually just a placeholder for December 18th. We weren't sure if we were
Mhm.
going to do that one or not.
I think we'll just keep it as a placeholder. It's one, to be quite honest, I'd like to not have, but we may have to have one. And we will try and keep the agenda very short if we do have one.
Okay, I'll need to know something, let's say by
Yeah,
the end of the month, whether or not we need to send a notice out to members or send a notice out on the meeting
for that meeting.
for that meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a 7-day notice, right? So the 11th or 10th or something like that.
I think we said the 11th. We need to know by the 11th.
Yeah.
But
Okay, all right. And I'll take care of that, Gary.
okay. And then let's see, we have regular membership meeting for the 14th.
Mhm.
Yes,
And I think we have we have Nancy next bylaws. It's not until December 6th.
Correct.
Okay. And Rand, your next meeting, well, you had one today. Do you know you're having anything else?
December 2nd with Sarah. I think we gave you that. Did we give you that date? Thought we did.
I don't have it on record. I'm keeping a spreadsheet on the Google Drive, all the meetings. I didn't have.
I bet. It's the only way you can keep track.
Is it-
Okay, well, we're set
And
for
it's 2 o'clock?
December 2nd. And
2
let's
o'clock?
see. Yeah, I'm double checking.
Gary, could you send a link to your Google Drive and maybe that and just authorize view access for me? That would be really helpful.
Okay. I thought you had,
I might have it and I just don't know.
yeah.
I have access to the bylaws Google Drive, but I don't know of any other access I have to be able to get anywhere else.
Okay. All right.
Yes, 2 o'clock.
Sharing pretty much set up for anybody who has a login for the Google Drive, but if I need to set permissions, I'll check into that.
I think I might just need a link. I just don't know how to get out beyond the bylaws, and it's probably just my user error, but I don't know how to go beyond the bylaws to the
Okay.
overall admin Google
Uh,
Drive.
Yeah, it may just be as simple as if I share the root of
Yeah.
the directory. I think that might do it for you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
And yes, 2 o'clock, and the 3 next meetings are December 2nd, December 16th, and December 30th. So those are all planned to be Monday at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
And I will have to get agendas to you. This one the second I can get to you pretty readily, in the next day. And then the other ones, I don't know really what the agenda is, but
And I'll get you my agenda too for the 6th.
Okay. I think that's got us caught up then for the end of the year.
So we
okay.
just need an agenda for the 14th.
Okay.
I assume we'll have a FEMA update.
We'll do the usual things at the start. We'll do a bylaws and a community plan steering committee update. So those two things. The FEMA, we'll do a FEMA update. We'll allot time for that.
And then-
Hopefully, yeah, go ahead.
Could we put Susan on the agenda to talk about the outreach task force and let people know what they're thinking and getting people,
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, do that too.
or maybe 10 minutes?
Let me write these down. So we're going to do FEMA. Outreach. Bylaws, community plan, FEMA outreach. I think we should and maybe Susan can mention it, I think maybe, but with the elections, the elections are going to be sooner than
Yeah.
later. And so it would be a nice time to let folks know that they're considering, which positions are open. Well, maybe I can do that, or Susan, I can do that, but or Susan can do it, however we do it, but I'll just put down elections and I think it's just me and is it Gary?
Yeah,
Jeff and I
it
came
is.
in together.
Right. It's you and Gary.
So it's Gary and I, so.
And I hope you're planning to run again, both of you.
Okay.
Good to ask, Nancy. We just got an okay.
Keep it simple.
I
Keep
gotta
it
go, you
running.
guys. I gotta get over to the.
Okay, all right, see
Okay,
you.
thank
Have a
you
good
all.
dentist appointment,
Okay.
Ren.
I'm looking forward to it, of
Yeah.
course.
I'm sure you are.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items, public comment. The minutes, the conflict of interest, the welcome. So I think that's it.
Sounds good.
I'll send that to I'll send it to Candace by the 1st. I usually do it a few days before the 1st, so she has time. But I'll get that out to Candace. And I'll also get the December 11th if we're gonna, we'll see if we're gonna need a meeting on the 18th. I don't know, we'll see. And that'll be a decision probably after the, well, it's, I don't know, I will have to notice it by the 11th, so it'd be nice to know by that time, so we don't even have to put it up, so.
Yeah,
I
it
could
occurs
just-
to me, I'm gonna have to go back and look at the bylaws, but I don't think we had anything. How much lead time we needed to cancel a meeting, and
Oh,
maybe we should add, giving ourselves less lead time requirements to cancel a
Yeah.
meeting.
yeah,
Because we're gonna have to go back and do some minor bylaws tweaking at some point anyway. I'll just make a note to look at that, because I
yeah.
don't see why we need to have quite as long a lead time if we're canceling.
Well, right now, I don't think the December 18th meeting is public anywhere.
No, it's not.
And so
Mhm.
nobody knows that meeting's gonna happen, and so if we don't choose on the
That's
11th,
true.
so if we choose on the 11th not to have it, then it won't be canceling anything. It's
Other than the
only
bylaws say,
only
yeah,
internally here, so.
yeah. Otherwise, other than the bylaws saying we need to have a meeting a month, every month. And so if we
Yeah.
don't, unless
Yeah.
otherwise decided by the executive board. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, it doesn't say we publicize that we're not going to. We can just
Yeah.
decide not to. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think you're right. Yeah. Okay. All right.
okay, I think with that, we'll adjourn, so. Thanks, everybody, for coming today, and have a good Thanksgiving.